She was a total babe, super charming, but like totally born into the wrong family, bunch of boring office workers. She had zero cash, no prospects, no way to get noticed, vibe with, or tie the knot with some rich, classy dude. Her place was basic, with peeling walls and beat-up furniture. Seeing it all just pissed her off and broke her heart. She'd zone out, picturing quiet, fancy rooms decked out with dope tapestries or swanky living rooms dripping in high-end fabrics. She was obsessed with a life that was straight up out of her reach. One night, her hubby rolled in all hyped up, waving a big envelope. "Yo, got something for you, babe," he said. She ripped it open quick and pulled out a fancy card that said, "The education minister and his wife, Georges Ramponneau, are stoked to invite Mr. and Mrs. Loisel to a lit party at the ministry crib on Monday, January 18th. But instead of being psyched like her man expected, she tossed the invite on the table like it was trash, muttering, "What am I supposed to do with this junk?" He was totally floored, stuttering, "Yo, what's wrong? What's the deal?" She held back tears, keeping it chill as she wiped her face, saying, "Nothing. Just don't got no dress, so I can't hit up this party." His heart sank. He was like, "Aight, Mathilde, how much would a decent dress run ya? Something you could rock again, real simple like?" She thought for a sec, crunching numbers in her head, trying to figure out how much she could ask for without him shutting it down. Finally, she said, kinda unsure, "I don't know exactly, but maybe $400 should do it." He went a bit pale, 'cause he'd been stashing that exact amount for a new gun to go hunting next summer. Still, he was like, "Cool, I got you. $400 it is." The big party was coming up, and Mathilde was acting all down, antsy and stressed, even though her dress was good to go. One night, her hubby was like, "Yo, what's up with you? You been acting weird for like 3 days." She snapped back, "I'm pissed 'cause I ain't got no bling, not one sparkly rock, nothing to flex with. I'm gonna look broke as hell. I'd rather just skip this whole shindig." He was like, "How about some fresh flowers? They're super trendy right now. You could snag 2 or 3 dope roses for $10. She wasn't feeling it. Nah, ain't nothing worse than looking like a nobody next to all them rich chicks. All of a sudden, her husband yells, "Man, you're totally clueless. Go hit up your girl, Madame Forestier, and see if she can hook you up with some bling. You guys are tight enough for that." She let out a hype squeal. "For real? Why didn't I think of that?" The next day, she rolled up to her friend's place and spilled how stressed she was. Madame Forestier strutted to her fancy mirrored closet, grabbed a big-ass jewelry box, popped it open, and was like, "Pick something, girl." At first, she peeped some bracelets, a pearl necklace, and a dope Venetian cross with gold and sick gems. She tried on the pieces in front of the mirror, vibing hard but couldn't decide. She didn't want to let any of them go. Then, out of nowhere, she spotted a sleek black satin box with a straight-up fire diamond necklace. Her heart was racing like crazy with major want. Her hands were shaking as she grabbed it. She clasped it around her neck over her fancy dress and just stood there, totally stoked, staring at herself in the mirror. The night of the big party rolled around, and Madame Loisel was straight up killing it. She was finer than any other chick there, looking classy, smooth, all smiles, and totally hyped. She was dancing like she was in a trance, full-on vibing, lost in the moment, flexing her beauty and basking in the glow of her big win, like she was floating on a cloud of pure bliss. All the dudes were checking her out, trying to get her name and slide into an intro. All the big-shot officials were begging to spin her on the dance floor. Even the head honcho minister clocked her. She didn't bounce from the party till, like, 4 in the morning. Her husband. He'd been passed out since midnight in some empty side room with 3 other guys whose wives were still living it up at the ball. He tossed the plain jacket he'd brought for her to head home in over her shoulders. Basic, everyday gear that looked straight-up cheap next to her fancy ball gown. She felt the vibe shift and wanted to bounce quick so the other women, who were flexing their luxe fur coats, wouldn't clock her. They headed down toward the Seine, freezing their butts off and totally stressed, but couldn't find a ride. Finally, they spotted one of those beat-up late-night cabs on the riverfront, the kind that only creeps out in Paris after dark, like it's too embarrassed to show its raggedy self in daylight. It dropped them at their place, and they dragged themselves up to their apartment, feeling low. For her, the party was done. She peeled off the jacket in front of the mirror, trying to catch one last glimpse of her glow-up. But then she let out a scream. The necklace, gone from around her neck. They stared at each other, totally freaked out. He was like, "Yo, you sure you had it on when we left the party?" "Yeah, I swear I felt it in the hall of the ministry. But if you dropped it on the street, we would have heard it hit the ground." "Gotta be in the cab." He threw his clothes back on, saying, "I'm gonna walk the whole route we took, see if I can spot it." And he dipped. She stayed in her ball gown, too wiped to even hit the bed, just slumped in a chair. No heat. Mind totally blank. He rolled back around 7 in the morning, empty-handed. He hit up the cops, the newspapers to put out a reward, the cab companies, any spot where there was even a sliver of hope. She sat there all day, stuck in the same numb panic over this nightmare. By night, they were out of moves. Loisel, looking like he aged a whole decade, was like, "We gotta figure out how to replace that bling." They grabbed the box the necklace came in and hit up the jeweler whose name was stamped inside. He checked his records. "Nah, ma'am, I didn't sell that necklace. I just supplied the case." So they bounced from one jeweler to another, hunting for a match, racking their brains to remember what it looked like, both of them wrecked with stress and heartbreak. In a shop at the Palais Royal, they finally spotted a diamond necklace that looked dead-on like the one they lost. Price tag? 40 grand. They haggled it down to 36. Loisel had 18 grand from his dad's inheritance. He'd have to scrape together the rest. He went all in, borrowing 1,000 francs from one guy, 500 from another, 5 Louis here, 3 there. He signed IOUs, made sketchy deals, and basically bet his whole life on it. They let their maid go and ditched their old place, moving into a cramped attic spot. She got a crash course in back-breaking chores and the nasty grind of kitchen work. She scrubbed dishes, her once cute nails scraping against grimy pots and pans. She tackled the filthy laundry. Shirts, dishcloths, the works, hanging them to dry on a line. Every morning she lugged the trash down to the street and hauled up water, gasping for air at every staircase landing. Her husband. He moonlighted keeping books for some shop owner and burned the midnight oil, copying manuscripts for a measly 5 cents a page. This grind went on for a whole decade. By the end of 10 years, they'd paid off every last dime, every cent, including the crazy interest rates and the piled-up compound interest. One Sunday, while Mathilde was strolling down the Champs-Élysées to shake off the week's grind, she spotted a woman with a kid. It was Madame Forestier, still looking young, fine, and fly as ever. Mathilde felt a tug at her heart. Should she holler at her? For sure. Now that the debt was cleared, she'd spill the whole story. Why not? She walked up. "Yo, what's good, Jeanne?" The other chick didn't recognize her, thrown off by this regular-looking woman acting all familiar. She stuttered, Ma'am, I don't know you. You must got the wrong person." "Nah, it's me, Mathilde Loisel." Her friend let out a gasp. "Oh, Mathilde, girl, you look so different." "Yeah, life's been rough since we last kicked it. Tons of struggle, and it's all 'cause of you." "Me? How's that?" "You remember that diamond necklace you let me borrow for the ministry party?" "Yeah, and?" "I lost it." "What?" "You gave it back." "I gave you a new one just like it. We've been hustling for 10 years to pay it off. It wasn't easy, but it's done, and I'm good now." Madame Forestier stopped dead in her tracks. "You telling me you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine?" "Yup, you didn't even notice, huh?" They were basically twins. Mathilde grinned, proud but chill. Madame Forestier, all choked up, grabbed both her hands. "Oh, Mathilde, you poor thing. My necklace, it was fake, girl, worth maybe 500 francs tops.